Good morning, everyone. Jason Esswein here, licensed marriage and family therapist. I want to talk today about manifestation and fear and how connected they really are. Now, there's a lot of stuff about manifestation out there. There's The Secret and all these other kinds of things. And we're told basically to visualize what we really want and to really feel the feeling in our bodies as if we already have it, because the brain doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. It can feel the same way. So, and there's a lot of truth to that. That's true. You do want to pull in and generate the feeling of already having what it is that you want, as if you already have it now. And that's one of the most powerful places to come from, especially if you're in a place of gratitude and surrender. Trusting the universe, trusting God, call it whatever you want, trusting life. One of the hang-ups we get is manifestation. That whole subject can really appeal to a part of us called the spiritual ego. And the spiritual ego is the part of us that can be, it's like the part of our soul that it's in its most primitive dormant state. And it's usually fear-based, and it's usually around the critic that tells us the lies of you're not good enough, you'll never get there, you're too this, you're too that, blah, blah, blah. So manifestation, if it's not centered in what really matters, which I'm going to get to in a second, it can be like crack for the spiritual ego. Like, you can have anything you want. And the ego goes, really? Well, yeah, all you got to do is this and take these steps, and you'll have it. However, it's important to remember that we are guaranteed to be able to feel the way we would feel if we had it all those things, the new job, the relationship, the amazing house, the ideal car, whatever. We are guaranteed to be able to feel how we would feel if we had it, even if those things don't show up. And that's what detachment really is. I can feel the way I want to feel. I can feel joy. I can feel gratitude. I can feel peace, even if those things don't show up. So when we get attached to the things or the experiences so that we can feel okay, that's the trap. That can be the trap of the spiritual ego, and that's what can get us into trouble. However, the key to manifestation, if you really want to get into real spirituality, to be willing to do or confront the thing that scares you. Because when you make choices that scare you, now we're talking real spirituality. For example, are you in a toxic relationship? Is there a friend or several or whatever who you find that the relationship seems to be coming to a close, or it's draining for you to be in their presence more and more? Is your job including a boss that can be very abusive? Something like that. And a lot of people, they want to focus on spirituality and they don't want to face what really scares them. Like, oh, let's talk about that levitation thing, or let's talk about ETs. And that's all great. But if you're not doing what scares you, we're not talking real transformation. And wherever there is fear in your life, whatever that is, wherever there is fear in your life, that is where the next choice needs to be made. It might even just be taking better care of yourself. It might be more self-love, putting better nutrition in your body, doing some exercising, sitting still, getting comfortable with stillness, also called meditation in certain forms. Sometimes just more self-care is what we need to do. And, because we can get so into spirituality and think that we're going to do it the right way. We need to do it this way. And, okay, in the perfect position. Okay, I love you. I am that I am. Namaste. And doing all these spiritual gymnastics, which Matt Kahn calls the spiritual hokey pokey. I quote Matt Kahn all the time. There's a lot of people who aren't ready for him just yet. But he's a game changer in terms of spiritual teachings based in love and real power. So, to sum it up, if you really want to manifest, whatever scares you, that's the next choice that needs to be made. So before we end today, I want to talk a little bit more about fear, because we all can struggle with it, and we've all definitely been challenged by it, and will continue to be, at least until there's very little residue remaining. So we often have this belief that we can't make a choice because if we're afraid of making that choice, we're going to somehow sabotage ourselves, or we're going to, something bad's going to happen. And that's a lot of superstitious nonsense. So if you're afraid, make the choice fearfully. Fear will linger in your body until you make that choice. And there's nothing more powerful to manifest than to face and release our fears, because that's when life force, that's when God, that's when the universe comes through us more and more potently. And then manifesting isn't even about striving. You take certain action steps. Of course, you structure your life in a way that can create those things, but it's not like your happiness or your peace or your liberation depends on the future like that. It's you're good now. So a couple of things I want to talk about fear. And there's a Bible verse I want to quote. Now, I want to make myself very clear. I'm not religious in the traditional sense at all. I'm not into organized religion, because there can be a lot of fear and a lot of stuff written through their scripture and all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of power and beauty too. So I want to make this one quote that was really powerful for me. It's, God did not give us a spirit of fear or timidity, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. So anything that's other than those things, chances are good that's fear. It's either coming from your spiritual ego or someone else, and you don't want to follow those voices. You want to give them your attention for a brief second, but not indulge them. So you don't deny them and try to ignore them, but you don't indulge them either. It's called the middle way. So, it's important just to qualify that a little bit more. There is a lot of fear in organized religion. Something that's most obvious is, for example, the condemnation of those who are gay, like they're a disappointment to God and all that kind of nonsense. I mean, if there's any kind of fear, there it is. They've talked about Satan, there it is. Judgment, condemnation, all that garbage, it's nonsense. So that stuff creeps me out. And it's not just in Christianity, it's in many different religions. So I just wanted to be very clear about that. In terms of free will, we do have a choice. And let me make this very simple. What we focus on, we get more of. It's not a universe of exclusion, it's inclusion. So if you're focused on what you don't want, you're actually in relationship to that now. You are formally and fully in resistance. And when we're in resistance, when we're trying to control things or get rid of something, we are very much connected to that. For example, if you listen to people bitch and complain about their ex or their whatever it is, guess what? Their ex might as well be in the room with you right now, because their energy is there. So it's about focusing on what we do want rather than what we don't. And so it's about inclusion, because energy follows thought. Whatever you focus on, you're going to get more of. And that's our free will. That's our choice. We do have a choice as to where we're going to focus, and that's what we'll create more of. So one thing just in terms of pushing past fear. This really works for me, and it might work for you. When I think of something that scares me, especially the stronger the fear. For example, the previous year I was taking on something new at work. I was taking on possession cases, and I was terrified before I did it. And even in the midst of it, I was really actually concerned that I was going to die or lose my mind or both. And I am so grateful that I faced that fear, because now I love doing that work when it arises. Because I needed to be afraid to learn that I don't have anything to be afraid of. And but because we live in a world of contrast, we need to see what we don't want in order to have to focus on what we do. So I'm just still so incredibly grateful for the few people that actually encouraged me to face that fear rather than avoid it, because it's been a game changer, and I couldn't be more grateful. So if something's really frightening to you to do, to say, think about the suffering in the world. This is what I do. I think about, especially if the fear is really intense, I think about the Holocaust, which is so horrifying. Or just the things that happen now. It could be ISIS, it could be child or animal abuse, you name it. And those things are created from, you guessed it, fear. And people who haven't done their own work and haven't done their own healing. So when people are fearful, they spread that out. They spread that out to everyone they touch, and it's not pleasant. And there's a lot of horror and hellish things that come from that. So if I don't like that, if I don't like thinking about that, and that horrifies me, well, guess what? Whatever I'm afraid of, I almost feel like in a way I don't have a choice. Because if I don't like that and I want to be part of the solution and not part of the problem, I damn well better face my fear. So yeah, if you don't like suffering and what happens as a result of fear, face your own fear. I don't know a better answer, because you're not going to control other people. You're not going to get other people. There are some who are not ready to see their own choices. They're not ready to be more conscious. They're just not. And it's just part of their training. It's part of their school. Any more than you wouldn't walk into a second grade classroom and yank one of the kids out and say, come on, we're going to high school. He's not ready. There's things he needs to learn. So we need to be as patient and gentle with ourselves too. And so yeah, that's, if you really want to improve the world, face what's holding you back, because your energy and the result of you releasing your fear will automatically elevate other people just by being in their presence. I promise you that. So that's about it. Thank you for listening, and I will look forward to connecting with you soon. Have a great day.